Everybody hear me okay? Seems like my mic's on. Hello. What's up, Magdalena? What's up, Josh? Get started pretty quick here. Hello, Kristen. Oh, I was working all day, so my hand's kind of beat up, but I think I came up with something that'll be fun tonight that's not going to be too rough on anybody. I'm going to save the whole swords weaponry thing that we talked about last week till next week, and then get into that. But this week, I just wanted to do another character. So, get rid of this. So this is what I'm going to do. I came up with this silhouette, and I'm going to do it 3 different ways. I'm gonna use the silhouette to create different kind of like surfacing. I won't go super nuts on the mech one so it doesn't eat up like the whole night. And I think I'll do like some sort of organic and some sort of like crustacean, all using the same silhouette. So I think, and then because I kept the silhouette relatively simple, the hope is that I can also color them and shade them tonight. But we'll see how it goes. So, without further ado, let's get these things nestled in their own little group. And I'm just gonna calm them right down. So yeah, let's see, I'll just work right to left. And just because the mechs usually do take the longest, I'll start with that because everybody has the most patience with that. And then I'll be all warmed up. Thanks for coming up, everybody, by the way. Thank you. Alright, so mech. You guys all have a good week, barring all the craziness that's been going on. A little bit of a tough week to get motivated into doing things around here. I don't know if I'm going to keep it monocular on all of them, but for the robot, I'm going to. Because robots should be monocular. They don't need depth perception, they got sensors for that. Hey, Catherine and Alex, Casper, good to see you. I'm glad everybody's keeping busy. So for people, I don't know if people are just jumping in. I'm just going to repeat the same thing a bunch of times if people are coming in. So I've got 3 of the same silhouette here, and I'm just going to use the same silhouette to create different kinds of characters, different ways of treating them. So I'll do like a mech, and I'll do like a crustacean thing, and I'll do like a monster creature, I think. Starting out with the mech. And then if all goes well, which I hope it does, I'm going to color them all up. But you never know. You're welcome for the streams. The streams are good for me too. Admittedly, I started doing them to kind of hold myself accountable to kind of loosening up and just draw a little bit more freely. You know, I think there's this, when I'm drawing on my own, there's a big part of me that gets really tight because I think every line's wrong, and I don't feel any urgency, and so like I hem and haw over every little thing. And the streaming really helps to kind of, you'd think it'd be more stressful, and in some ways it is, to draw in front of you guys, but at the same time it's kind of cathartic to just kind of let it run. Just realized I have my iPad streaming with the volume on. Okay, here we go. So I'm very happy to be doing this. Yeah, I hope you guys are getting used to it, but please, if you guys, while you guys are listening to me yap and watching me draw, throw your socials, whatever links, art stations, Instagrams, whatever, throw them into the chat so other people can check them out, and you guys can start little companies. Posting on Reddit. How's posting on Reddit going? I can't imagine posting any more places at this point. Finally opened an ArtStation account. Even that, just like that one other thing is like, oh, that's right, there's that one other thing constantly. Yeah, I guess that's what I think of Reddit, and I think of Reddit as just the brutality of it all. People getting canceled, and just the like. I've gone on Reddit for like product um, reviews and things like that, or if I have a problem with a piece of software, there's really good information, and then you just can't help but get into the weeds a little bit with people's just getting all kinds of opinionated. It's hilarious if you're in the mood for it. Oh, thanks, Nick. Yeah, the ArtStation thing, I love ArtStation. I constantly go there and just drool over everything, but it's just such a tough thing to just constantly be adding new places to post to yourself all the time. I know that there is even little apps and stuff like that that'll help you just post everything to all your socials, but you just never know. So you end up having to do it all yourself anyway. Starting to look like another bunny robot, it looks like. Probably should have named my company something to do with bunnies. I draw so many of them now. Yeah, I get the most out of Instagram still to this day, and it's been good to me. But every time there's whispers of something getting unstable or something like that, or copyright issues, then all of a sudden everybody starts running away and going other places, and so you got to deal with that. All right, what am I doing? Oh yeah. Well, I actually when I see all the other work and I start to get discouraged and things like that, and I was actually feeling that today. I have to actually like physically tell myself, like that is exactly why I'm going over there, just to like see just what can be done, kind of like hold myself accountable. I think it's easy to get demoralized, but it's just gotta have like a healthy attitude to like see it and be like that. Okay, that's where I need to be. I don't know. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it's nice to know what it is that you're fighting for. I get a lot out of that. It's really easy as an artist to get discouraged. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that you just like had been doing it for 20, 30 years and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, I got this. But it's not the case. It never goes away. I've talked to people who have just been doing it for a million years and have hands on them that are, you'd think that, some divine entity gave them their powers, and they still freak out all the time. It's just part of being an artist. It's just constantly getting upset about your abilities. Something I wanted to try on this mech as I was just sitting here for a second. I'm gonna get through some of the body parts, but I want to do some like cabling in a certain way. See how that looks. Let's see. Get a little further. Alright. Sorry, like I said before, every time I'm doing mechs I start to get really quiet. And I'm a little bit more yappity yap when I'm doing organics. Something about trying to get all the perspective right and everything shuts me up fast. If you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything like that, please hit me up. It's a tough one. I'm drawing. I'm actually curious the same thing. Is everybody drawing? Anybody drawing? You guys working? Watching TV? Just using me as a screen shaver? Is anyone going to art school right now? Crystalline creature. Sounds delicious. schoolism's awesome. But is anybody actually enrolled in a college right now? Wait, how are you working? Oh, that's cool. Making monsters. God, that'd be awesome. Hope you're enjoying the crap out of that. I once interviewed for a place for doing practical effects, and I totally screwed up my interview. Oh my god, it was so embarrassing. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was up in it was a million years ago. It was up in like Valencia a million years ago. I don't know if it's still there. I remember when I walked in, when I finally I was late. That's why I screwed up my interview. And then they just didn't want to have anything to do with me after that, for good reason. But the guy who originally sculpted Predator was in there. I remember his name. But he was in there doing a commissioned version of Predator. Just sitting right there, just doing his thing. It's awesome. So after I screwed up my interview, they let me just hang out. So I just watched him work for a while. It was worth it. All these little chunky bits are always the hardest. I think once I get into the hand, it'll calm down a little. The arms and legs. I guess it depends on how complicated I make it. I can't look at those lists of comics. I'll end up spending a bunch of money tonight. I'm out of bookshelf space too. Gomer goof. You go. What do you want to know about the 32? I know about it. I don't have one, but I know a bit about it. I'd love to do some of those like face appliques and stuff like that. All those like nice little like forehead prosthetics and things like that. That stuff always looked like so much fun. Oh, you're just looking to see what's the best fit? I think the 24 inch is the best fit. I'm starting to do a lot more print work, and the 24 just feels really good. The 32 is just massive, and you really, like, you end up using all the extra space. In my opinion, you use up all the extra space just for like secondary windows, and you're better off just having a secondary monitor. But that's really just my personal opinion. I just found it was gargantuan. The 24 is plenty big. It's widescreen. It's just a nice big. No, not Giger. No, I wasn't talking about Giger. There's this sculptor who sculpted the original Predator, though not Alien, which would be awesome. But the Predator sculpt is by a different guy, and I want to say he even just like kind of like came up with it on his own, the original maquette of it. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Nice piece of kit, as they say. And yeah, Alex, the 32 is just monstrous. I just don't I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it sells a lot of hardware for Wacom, but it's not. There's not really a lot of uses for it. If you work big, like there's just a lot of artists that really like to work big, then I think you could get a lot of use out of it. But I think the 24 is more than enough. It eats up enough desk space as it is, which tells you just how big it is. I still plan on doing like a studio tour, so maybe in the next week or two I can clean up my office enough where it's presentable. I can take you guys on a tour before I start drawing. It's got like underpants on. How'd I end up doing that? Let's try this wire thing out. see if I got behind a little bit here. Yeah, maybe is it? I don't know if it's the 22 or the 24 that I have. I have the newest one. So I like it a lot. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I kind of like that. This sort of break up surfaces. Oh no, not that one. No, the one with the four claws. Not. You're talking about the one that Jean-Claude Van Damme was running around in the suit of. That would have been hilarious. No, that guy. I wish I could remember his name. It'll come to me as soon as we're done with the stream. An Asian guy. He's awesome. He's such an amazing sculptor. Not 100% sure he's still with us, but he doesn't seem like I'm old now, so like everyone seems like they're not that old. But who knows? He was older than me at the time, and now I'm old. We're almost done with this mech version. The bellies are always the hardest for me because I always want to do something interesting in there. Not that I'm not going to try and do something interesting for the arms, but it'll be a little bit more straightforward. If it was Stan Winston, and I see, that's the thing is like maybe I don't even want to remember, because if I was going to the Stan Winston school, I don't think it was, because if I screwed that up, I don't think I'd even show my face in public again. So if it comes to me and it was Stan Winston's workshop, you guys will just never hear from me again. I mean, he was the guy that I'm talking about. He was pretty well known, but he wasn't. I don't think he was Stan Winston. It was, but he did do a lot of popular shows, and I just remember the reception room was just filled with amazing stuff. Of course, it was all dusty, like they didn't actually care about it, almost to make you upset. There's a kid that I went to college with who was already got an internship there. I think he didn't like me, so I think that didn't help. So when I got up there, it was already like, I don't know, maybe I'm just finding excuses. Being late for your interview is pretty much a deal killer. Let's see what we're going to do with this leg. Do like crazy joint. Is it better now? How about we'll do a little sound checks right now, see if we can isolate the problems. Move my mic a little closer to my face. Does that help? Hey, it's doing a little sound check. You just showed up in time. You can help us out. Is the rhythmic music stopped? Yeah, it was Steve Wayne. That's the guy that was sculpting. That wasn't the studio though. God, he was such a good sculptor. Is he still alive? Alright, I'm gonna go even closer so you guys are like inside my head, which is upsetting for everybody involved. This will be a strange leg. I'm trying to finish this thing up and I'm trying things out. You guys are guinea pigs. you guys say the sound is better? That is a weird one, but I like it. Put it in the quiver of ways that I draw hip joints. That's the kind of funny thing about robots, is like the functionality of them is, it's always pretty subjective as to whether it works or not, and whether it looks good. Looks good is pretty important, but part of making a robot look good is whether it looks like it could function. This guy has like a really nice big diaper going on. I love it. I can honestly say I've never done that hip joint before, and I've done a lot of hip joints. Designed a lot of robots. Not even sure I can draw the other one, but we're gonna get there. The time-lapse robots are just for fun. They're just giggles. I have clip on my my iPad, and in the morning when I sit down and have my coffee, I draw whatever I want. So I drew robots, kind of like I'm doing right now. Kind of figuring them out. I am working on a project that I'm going to talk to you guys about next week or two, probably 2 weeks from now. But I can't talk to you about it right this second. It's too fresh. But I will start putting together an art book this year, hopefully within the next few months actually. And a lot of those robots and stuff like that, they'll end up in that, if anybody's interested. I did a really short art book that's in the store right now with some stickers and stuff, which was really fun. But that was mainly because Lightbox had shown up on the radar, and they were it was a good time to sell some product, but I didn't have a ton of stuff ready to go for an art book. So it was a very short book, so I used a lot of you know, I can include like stickers and stuff like that with it, so it was a little bit more robust of a purchase. I think those are almost gone. And then, but this art book is going to be probably closer to 60 or 80 pages, so it'll be like a legit art book. Oh, I have promised myself ever since I left Insomniac, and I just kind of like have been on my own, that I give myself 2 hours every morning to just warm up and do my own thing. That's just a promise that I've made to myself, and so far I've kept it. 2 hours. I'm you know, I have my rules. Like I said, I worked in video games, so I always have like rules. I'm allowed to work on my own projects, but I'm supposed to warm up, which is like a non-committal, just do whatever the heck I want kind of moment, and that's just for the health of being ready for the day, and it helps a lot. I wish I had been doing it earlier. I always used to say I would warm up, but I didn't as much as I should, and I didn't put the right rules on it. It had to be for me. It had to be for whatever. And it had to be totally fine to just fail. But the iPad is awesome, because then I don't feel like one of the hurdles with doing it before was I didn't want to go either in my office or to work or wherever. I didn't want to be in a formal work setting when it was still like morning time for me. And but now with the iPad, I can, like, if it's nice out, I can sit on the steps. If I'm just sitting at the dining room table, on the couch, if the kids are watching X-Files, which is awesome. Spent a little time with the iPad just sitting and drawing. Last night I was watching the new Doctor Who. Just awesome. So that is helping a lot. And I hate to think that I wouldn't have normally just grabbed a sketchbook and done that, but usually my sketchbooks tend to just keep going towards traditional work, like doing observational drawing and stuff. Even though I think that they're going to be ideation books, I end up just like drawing my dog and my cat or plants and stuff like that. And I love that stuff, but that's for whatever reason, whenever I get my hands on traditional media, I tend to just lean towards that stuff a little bit more. Yeah, I'll let you guys know as soon as I get the art book going. Yeah, being okay with failing is like the life lesson type. It's the only way to survive mentally as an artist is like to finally make peace with the fact that you're gonna screw up more of the drawings than you're gonna succeed. There was a moment where I was at work, I was at Insomniac, and was hanging out with we had a lot of concept artists at the time. This was back a million years ago, and someone made some comment about how like we had to bring in some of our sketchbooks or college applications, like the stuff that we used to get into school or something like that. And it was like everyone thought it was so funny, and wouldn't it be funny to see it? And then like you could just see the dread fall over everyone's face. Like, I don't want to show any of that stuff to you guys. So having the freedom to screw up and not feel like you're ever going to show anybody, I learned a ton. drawn an hour. Should be able to get pretty far. Oh, so my thing with watching TV and music even is I can really only draw to that stuff when I've already seen it, or I don't care about it. You know, like if we're watching like some cooking show, or like X-Files is awesome, but I've seen them all. I know them like the back of my hand, so I don't really need to pay attention. I can just sort of like look up every once in a while. So that helps. That helps a lot. And the same thing with music for me. Like I can listen to music with no lyrics, or I can listen to music that I've listened to for a million years because I know the lyrics. But if it's new music and it has new lyrics and I'm learning, paying attention to the lyrics, I can't draw at the same time. But the main thing is just I don't know, something about the fact that I promised myself I would just draw for myself, even before before any client work. Even though like I get drawn into some of these projects, whether it's because the budget's really good or just because the project's really cool, and I get really excited to work on this stuff. But if I get there too early and I spend the whole day working on it and I burn myself out, then I start to form like resent, and I always did that. So it's giving myself 2 hours in the morning. It used to be an hour, but it just wasn't enough because I always 1 hour is enough to kind of get the juices going. Second hour is like when you start making things, I think. So 2 hours works better for me. I just feel like then I'm happy. I'm even happy to work on other people's projects. Happier, I love working on other people's projects, but when I feel like I've done something for myself first, I feel a lot more giving. I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or that I'd rather be working on something that's sparking my interest at that moment. Kind of gotten that out of my system. Definitely recommend that if you're wired anything like me. Art is like constantly like trying to figure out what's wrong with you, trying to fix it. Alright, almost done. Awesome. Did you know in Japan you can adopt a family for a day? Do that to watch X-Files. That's funny. I don't know if I can afford to feed any more families. My kids are eating too much already. I'm just gonna do the backpack and his other arm. Okay. hands is rotated too much, but we'll fix that in a second. What did I miss? I missed something. Oh yeah, food's expensive, especially when you have like growing children. It's hilarious. I used to think food was basically free, and I went off to college. I don't realize how good your parents treat you sometimes, even though that's got a lot of layers to it, I'm sure, as all of us as artists can attest to. Anyway. Alright, where are we at? Backpack, right? Let's get that arm tucked back just a little bit further. He needs the obligatory vacuum hose, right? I don't know what I'm missing, but that's a very ominous statement, Catherine. almost done. Say that and I start adding things like rivets, but whatever. Let's do. Scratches. Move on to something organic. Finished. Yeah, that looks finished. Alright, so for the next one, let's label our layer robot. And I always like to lock my layers when I'm thinking about it. So the next one, we'll do Crustacean. Right. Okay. Can you talk about your production? Did you print the mindless book yourself on your home printer, and did you do the sticker yourself? The sleeves, like all the packaging, the final packaging for the book, like the sleeves and the little labels and things like that, I all did by hand. Do as much as I can by hand, but the stickers I use Sticker Mule. They've been really good, and they have some really good products. So I use them, and so I what I like to do is I just wait for them to have like a special on a certain thing, and then I try and take advantage of whatever deal they're having, so I can do the kinds of products that I want to do. And then for the books, I found this place in Connecticut that I really like. I think in one of my videos where I show the like kind of like this like little production video, I think it's called USA Printing, but it's in Connecticut, and it's like halfway between like a print house and like a copy center, but it's like really high-end copying, and they do all the binding and everything like that, and they can do like nice low run stuff. The guy was really cool to me. Really awesome communication, so definitely want to do something with him again. But no, I don't. Well, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. What you're asking will be brought up in a different way in the future, but I really can't talk about it yet because I don't want to make any spoilers for some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing this year. But for that book and for the 60-page book and every other book that I've done, we've always used printers. They always just do a much better job. Putting together a book at home has a lot of obvious, very interesting challenges, but it's doable. It's just you have to be willing to take on that challenge. There's so many options now for printing a book that you can do low runs. I don't remember what I did for a run on that, but it wasn't terribly high. And you can do those low runs, and they're much more affordable than they used to be. So you don't have to. You're not committing as much resources financially either anymore. And then like for all the stuff that's in my shop right now, stickers, things like that, I try and do some custom packaging. I like to do something interesting with the packaging and with each thing. It's part of the motivation to wanting to do this stuff, is to make it slightly more interesting. I don't know if it's actually more interesting, but I try and make it more interesting. If there's a specific thing that I did in any of the products that you were looking at, Casper, let me know and I can answer them for you. I think this guy's gonna be kind of funny. Famous last words. What's going on with my nib? Hang on a second here. You know, the funny thing about doing that packaging is there's one project I want to do where like I kind of that stuff makes me laugh because I collect toys and you know, you get to that point where you like, do I open this type of thing, and I just always wrestle with that myself. And when I was making some of this stuff, I purposely was like, you know, you kind of have to make that dilemma where do you open it, do you not, do you just leave the packaging pristine? And I had this really kind of hilarious moment years and years ago where I was really starting to fall into that, like that pattern of like collecting toys and not taking them out of the box, where my son kept coming in, seeing my 1990s Iron Giant toy sitting on my shelf, probably worth like $100 or something like that, something absurd. And he wanted to play with it. He was a little kid, and it was a toy. He wanted to play with it, and I wanted to keep it because it was something that I had bought way back when the movie first came out. And I said, you can look at the packaging, and I let him handle it, but I didn't let him open it. And there was just this look of heartbreak on his face, and it triggered a memory of when I was a little kid. My dad worked at a shipyard where they were building these giant oil tankers and military cargo ships, and he used to take me there to visit once in a while. And he took me into his office. I think he was like a copywriter or something like that, and he had this enormous model of a military transport ship that had all these little toy jeeps, tanks, placed to show like where they would be in the cargo holds. And I wanted one so bad I threw a tizzy fit, and I just never let go of that moment. Like I just always, and I had to apologize to him recently. I was just like, at the time it just seemed absurd that he wasn't letting me play with all these toys, but now I kind of get it. Anyway, it's a long story, but we got time. So my son's looking at this Iron Giant, and I can't bring myself to let him just tear into it, because it still has some value to it. So I tracked one down on eBay, and it was like $100, and I was like, I'm gonna teach myself a lesson, and I bought it, and I gave it to him, and I just watched him tear into it, play with it. And it was one of the most satisfying kind of releases to see this toy that was meant to be played with, that was worth some stupid amount of money because of people like me getting played with. It's awesome. Felt like I did something right for once. Ivan Delgado, welcome. Good evening. Do you have any freelance work? If so, how do you go about figuring out your value as an artist and comes with a reasonable dollar and cents value of your work? Sorry for the bombardment question. Okay, so that's a tricky one. Because obviously everyone's a little bit different, but I know everybody's really curious about that, so I will do my best to answer it without revealing any personal information. You have to figure out how long it takes you to do a piece. And I don't mean that how long it takes you to sit down and draw this thing, but how much time it takes you to write all the emails, to get the deal settled, to the contract written, to everything, every little thing that it's going to take to get that thing to land. How many hours is it going to take you? And then figure out what your time is worth. And that time is worth whatever you need it to be. But obviously when you're starting out, you're doing things because you want the thing on your resume, and there's all kinds of little little caveats. But really, it comes down to what you think an hourly wage is. You know, if you really dig into it, and you know, whether you're talking about someone who makes $20,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or $100,000 a year, you can break that down into generally how many hours it takes, how many hours it is in a week, and you're basically just charging for your time. That's really what how you figure out your budget. But the game is you're going to make more money once you get faster, because then you're going to have your base rate and you're going to know it takes you a certain number of hours to do a certain thing, but you're going to be able to do it faster, so you'll be able to get more things done in that same amount of time, and you'll make more money. Obviously, if you're just hot shit, you'll make some more money too, but generally the way to make more money is to get faster at what they pay you a certain amount to do. Does that help? I don't even know if I answered the question. Alright, let's figure out what we're going to do with the eyes of this guy. Sorry, I'm going quiet on you again because I'm trying to solve a little problem here. Make sure I don't goof this guy up. Kind of funny. Perfect. It's like a little Kraken guy. Another way to put the numbers together is tables. Check out the minimum wage per hour in your country and the percentage. Those technical. Yep, you could do that. It really depends on like how many hours you want to work doing. You know, you just figure things out. What's going to work best for you. You're just starting out, unfortunately. You know, things just take longer, so sometimes you're not making enough money per job right away. but you're getting the connections, and hopefully if you deliver your work on time, they're calling you back and you're getting faster at the work. I've done a lot of jobs where I'll design a character for them, and designing a character, under spec, like what I'm doing right now is I'm the art director. I just, whatever I say goes. So these characters can go, they're perfect as soon as I say that's the way I want them to go. But if it's under spec, like you got art directors involved, you got whoever involved, and so you never know like if it's going to be received well. So there's a lot of pressure there. But then when you design the character for them and things go well and the ball starts rolling, you get a little bit faster. So sometimes even on the same job, you're making less money sometimes during the job and more money other times. And it's you just start to sort of become aware of when that stuff is happening, so that you can kind of keep an eye on it, make sure that you're not ever getting taken advantage of. But once you negotiate your rates, that's your rate. You can't change it till the contract is finished. It's tricky. I wish that they taught business practices in art schools or online that were just very accessible, because we all go to school and we all want to be artists, and nobody wants to deal with the actual financials. It's uncomfortable, especially when someone's been come to you for a job. A lot of times that whole conversation started just with compliments on your work, and it's been a nice conversation, and you're excited, and they tell you about the project, and then you say like, well, how much is it? And I've had to turn projects down with like really decent companies because the budget was off, and that's just heartbreaking, and sometimes they never call you back. And you always think like, oh, I should have done it for less, but you shouldn't have. You should not have done it for less. There's a lot of ways to do it. I was just telling you the way I do it. I just basically figure out like what I need to be making per hour. I've worked at a company for years and years and years and years. So I know how much money I need to make. I know how much I can generate, and then in a week. And so I came up with my equation based on that. I just recommend everybody figure that out. There's a point where it's uncomfortable to say like, when someone says, oh, that's too expensive for us or whatever, like that's the fear that everybody I think initially has, and it's disappointing, like I just said, about having to turn things down. But if you take on too many jobs where you're just taking them because you want to keep working and you're not getting paid enough to live, well, you're basically giving them work for free. And no company deserves work for free. Even the biggest companies will have budget issues where they just want to try a project out and don't have much budget for it, and it could be Steven Spielberg could knock on your door, and if he says like, hey, I just had this idea for this character, and it's but the budget's only $100 or something like that. Sorry, Steven, I can't. You might You might if it was Steven Spielberg. In fact, I would say if it's Steven Spielberg, go ahead and do it for $100. But you get my point. Alright, Crustacean boy here is getting weirder and weirder. Yeah, good finish. So it's like 1 hour or something like that. I might be able to finish this one in under an hour. Calling on my days as a fisherman are here. Got bit by a lot of these lobster claws. Yeah, I agree. The friends and family thing for me, I try not to ever do them. But if I do them, I do them for free completely. I just don't find there's any precedent to, there's no price, you know, like I don't want them to know how much they got discounted. I don't want them to know what my rates are. I just end up doing the stuff for free. And it ends up just being a gift, you know? Sometimes a very expensive gift. But that idea that, you know, it's almost not worth your time to even explain like how much time things take and how many people will say to you like, but hey, you like to draw. As soon as someone starts to say that, my Boston comes out of me and I just get all kinds of upset. Like, are you serious? This is hard. Knucklehead. Glad people are into this one. I've actually wanted to do something like this. I just hadn't really been able to figure out what it was gonna be. There's another project I want to do where I think everyone who wants to put a portfolio together would get a lot out of, where I basically just pretend like I'm doing a character for a video game or something like that, the way I did it, you know, every day for years. Just go through the entire process, silhouettes, reviews, blah blah blah. You can see me sweat, and but it may be like a multi-part thing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm the art director right now, so I can just do whatever. But you know, in a production environment, that's just definitely not the case. So I'm looking at my time, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be coloring these things tonight, but we can save them for another night. Color them up. I still want to go to the weapons next week. That'll be fun. Definitely get a few weapons done. It's my fault. I, as always, decided to put more details in. I promised myself I wouldn't, but I get caught up in it. Here's something else to yap about. What else you guys want to know? I don't know everything, but I know what I know. This project that I'm doing tonight reminds me a lot of when we would get done with the end of, well, not done, but towards the end of some of these projects, especially with the Ratchet and Clank characters, and there's always a need for extra enemies, but they didn't have the budget to reanimate everything. I run into this a lot, even now when I'm doing a lot of freelance projects where they'll want characters that can exist on the same rig, so you can model multiple characters, which I don't know how that ends up being cheaper, but I guess animation time is just, yeah, I know how, but you know what I mean. But the modelers just model a bunch of things based on same skeleton, and it actually is really fun. I loved modeling that stuff. And you know, a lot of reuse out of it. And if you do it well enough, it actually does seem like a completely different character. If you don't, it seems like the exact same character. One thing that was always very interesting to me was how much an animation defined what a character was. And so even though visually you could do a completely different character, you know, like if you put this robot next to this crustacean guy or something, and you know, you're looking at them in you know, whatever the render view was, and they're static, and there's no way that anyone would confuse the two. And then you get them in game, and the animation starts playing, and all of a sudden you're just like, that's the same character. There's no getting around it. Just because of the motion, the locomotion of it, so similar. Cintiq question. Are we seeing the entirety of your Cintiq display? Yes, you are. That's everything. I do have a secondary monitor, but yeah, this is the entirety of the Cintiq side. now I want to know why I asked that question. And the backpack, of course, has to be, well, you'll see. Trying to see how large the paper was versus your tool, etc. Yeah, the 16's tough. It's just a tough size. I think animators are pretty good with the 16, and I think painters, people who are doing more painting than line work, have an easier time because it's a bit more. What's the right word? It's got a little bit of a freedom to the placement, but as soon as you start trying to get into like accuracy, really detailed accuracy, then I think having a little one-to-one action is important. I was really mad back in the day. I wasn't making much money and kids were around, and Insomniac got the Cintiqs for us, and you would think that that would just be like the greatest thing in the world, but I would go home and work on my little Wacom tablet, and it was a different proportion than the Cintiq, because the Cintiq was 1-to-1, and of course the ratio of when you were using, like your pen mark to the smaller size was different, and I couldn't. It was like playing a piano all day long at a regular scale and then going home and working on a piano that was half the size and thinking that your fingers were just going to naturally land in the right spot. So even though the kids were screaming in the other room from being babies, I ended up dropping the money on a Cintiq against all my better judgment, but I had to. Uh-oh, Nick's starting to get everybody riled up about Wonder Woman. Yes, it was. Can't tell if you're trolling everybody. Should be funny in itself. Crazy. Let's turn you off. Make sure there's some little details we want to add. Alright, Crustacean boy. Do a few stretches here, crack my knuckles, and then we'll get back onto the last one. Alright, so let's see. Do for the organic. I don't even know why I'm using the ruler tool in this one. All for that mark. That's stupid. Okay. Do some sort of like demon here, I think. What are we gonna do for the horns? They are gonna be horns, I think. Oops. There we go. Okay. Back in business. Oh, it's gonna be a demon. That's what it always ends up being. I like the demons. They're good for us. I don't like that. That looks strange. How about we play a rib cage thing? Ooh, scary. It's appropriately scary and gross. I just realized the struggle you were having. You got there. Naming things can lead to some disastrous moments. How many rounds of feedback do you offer your clients? I start off with one per stage. And so what I do is I will say, you know, like I do want the revisions, so that's part of it. It's not just like a cost thing, but it's like, you know, I submit, you know, 3 or 4 roughs, and I keep them pretty rough. Nothing like what I'm doing here, just like really, and I, you know, I have examples. So when I'm starting out with a client, I send them things so that they know what to expect, and then they're just like really nice loose pencils. I'll actually be delivering some tomorrow, and then they have time to review those, and then if none of them hit, then we start over. And it just really, again, it kind of comes down to hours for me. Like it used to be, oh, you can only have this one round, and then you know, we're off to the races. And if you don't like it, well, you're stuck with what I gave you. Well, so there's a couple things that I work into the agreement, and it's different with every client. But I always try and write in that if it goes too long, that we have to sort of stop and have a conversation and realize that they're going to start getting billed hourly because it's above and beyond what's reasonable. And having an honest conversation with your clients is not a bad thing. It's not at all. So, so that's a big part of it. And then, but one of my fears is that if I put that pressure on too heavy, which you have to really walk the line carefully, they're going to agree to a character that they don't really want because they don't want to spend any more money. And I just am not at a point where I want to be designing characters that nobody wants. So I do find myself doing some revisions sort of pro bono to kind of get to a point where the character is something that the client really wants. And then it's something, because of that, it's something that I'm happy to work on because I'm actually answering it. But if they know that they've changed their mind, you know, they've had some directors come in and they sent me down the path of, you know, one particular direction, and I did a bunch of work on it, which has happened, then I'll say, that's fine, you know, like, let's just keep working on it. But you got to understand that we're basically throwing away a lot of work, and I'm just gonna bill you accordingly. And if they're a decent client, they have no problem with that. They understand. And I do feel partially responsible when I drop off a set of designs and they just don't like any of them. You know, that it's really valuable information. It's good psychologically for me to understand what they don't want, so I don't really ever get mad about that. But like I don't, if I just completely miss the brief, I don't hold them accountable for that. That's on me. But it's important to kind of, that's why I definitely recommend doing rough stages as often as possible, so that you can make mistakes and it doesn't cost you a lot of time or energy. You can really have some fun, and they don't feel like they're committed to all these final drawings. It can really get people feeling nervous. Sorry, I just want to make sure I get this hand the way I want it to look. Okay. Does that make sense? Does anybody else have different ways of handling that? Again, none of us have really been to business school, so we don't always do it the best way that you should do it, but that's working for me. We are getting down to the wire on this guy. See how much faster drawing a demon is than drawing a robot. So like if you were doing a robot for a client, you would definitely have to be very considerate of your hours. I've fallen prey to that a lot. People will approach you with projects and say like, yeah, we just need 6 characters. What are they? What are your 6 characters? Yes, then it's just finding decent clients. Yes. I don't honestly you're gonna find decent clients when you're you have to kind of build up a reputation of being the guy who delivers on time and you know, is into the project, and then hopefully they start recommending you to more and more people, and yeah, you end up with some really cool clients. I don't know. I've been really lucky. I really like the people that I work with. Very energetic people. You can get a feel for people right when you get on the phone call, first phone call with them, and they're, you know, the tone in their voice is just you know, like, when can you start? Just want to get going. We're having so much fun. Like, you're just like, okay, this is good energy. I've taken projects that I don't really love the style initially, but the energy from the team fuels me, so then I want to be a part of it. It's a lot better than people just being like, I don't know. Human and Han, waiting for other people to make decisions. I really like working with smaller groups because of that. There, so I think I know where I'm going with this backpack thing. Got his demon sack on. Has anybody ever said that before? Silver thing behind me? Oh, no, that's my wife's old computer we just replaced her computer. It's a giant Dell workstation that I got from Insomniac years ago, and she was basically using it the same way you would use like a laptop, and I was forcing her to use this giant workstation, so we finally just replaced it. But I have the paranoia about just throwing them away, so I have to go through and remove all the hard drives and smash them and make sure there's nothing on there. working on computers anymore. But it is what it is. Alright, there's that guy. What I can do to him? Say need. I don't know. If I was coloring him, I know what I'd do with him, but I think he's fine the way he is. Maybe he needs a couple ears. Horizontal in there to break up the verticality. You know, like you do. Alright, same silhouette, 3 different characters. Oh, I should probably save. Hope that was fun for you guys. My hand is gonna fall off. You guys have any questions? Is that a cool? We could probably do that like multiple times where we use the same silhouette. But I don't think I'm gonna do it anymore tonight. Yep, that's Demon Boy. Yeah, my place. Just gonna noodle for a second here, but when in doubt, noodle. But if you guys have any questions or technical things that I can answer, that I have no idea what I'm talking about and I just make up answers to get you guys set off in the wrong place, let me know. I'm your guy. My pleasure. Thank you guys very much for coming out. I know I say it every week, but it means so much to be able to hang out with you guys and just draw. And if it entertains you guys, that's great. If it's just time to hang out, that's even better. So I really appreciate it. It's gotta be funny in a video game. Like a quest giver. Good, I'm glad you don't like the color on it. Worked out great for me. This guy needs more damage. should get something going on with his lens. That's a good idea. Can't just have a white lens. I mean, it could. It'll look better without. There. Now he's alive, right? Now he's alive. And maybe he needs a logo. Yeah. Cool beans. Yeah, I'll try and color these. I think they'll be fun to color. I already know what I want two of them to look like. And the robot, I think we'll just do like a Star Wars theme on them and paint them up. So we'll do like a part 2 or a part 4 or whatever this was called. So it'll be like part 4.2. So we'll just revise these guys. And that'll be fun. But in the meantime, I'm going to sit around for about 5 minutes, and if you guys have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I'm just going to bail, go catch up on my Doctor Who, and then, you know, keep on keeping on. We'll see you guys next week. Oh, I'm going to ask you guys a favor, just because it helps me out a ton. If you guys do the whole like thing on the video later, I don't know how long it takes to post the thing or whatever, but that helps. That way, like, more people find the stream and stuff like that. That'd be awesome. I hate asking people to do stuff like that, but it is apparently how they run their algorithm, and it would be super helpful. So if you guys could do that for me, that would be sick. Yes, that's actually the joke I was thinking too. I wish I had color, but I think if we color these guys next week, we're definitely going to be making that eye red. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Magdalena, thank you very much. Alex, awesome. Casper, good to see you. What's this on there? Kristen, are you still with us? I don't know. Guys, all have an awesome night. And yeah, next week we'll do some weapons, and then the following week we have something planned. We can just go ahead and say, well, 2 weeks from now we'll color these guys up, and actually because it's what I'll do is I'll get like the basic like flats down for them. That way, like, we're not wasting any time with that, and then we can do a little pretend where we try different colors out on each of them and just see how that goes. Kyle's probably gonna sound mega fanboy-esque, haha. Oh gosh. But gotta say, since I played Ratchet and Clank at the age of 4, I've been obsessed with it. Oh. Good. It's I don't think it's fanboy. I talk to people like that I've been looking at their stuff for forevers too, and you know what? Like, that's awesome, man. That's exactly why I do this stuff. It's exactly why, like, I hope people are into this stuff. The fact that you guys are all sticking with it and still think the stuff is cool, it's awesome, man. I really, really appreciate it. All right. Well, on that note, I will see you guys next week. Again, thank you very much, and I will talk to you then. Have a great night, guys.